Hello and welcome to episode 5 of The Dirty Corner. In this episode there will be some discussion about bullying, there'll be some abusive language and swearing which I'm probably going to censor, but I'm going to show on screen some evidence of the steps that I took to try to mitigate the negative events and behaviour that started to occur in the studio, admittedly quite late on after the fact, but nonetheless that's what the story is going to be about today. Now, in the last episode, My Art is Better Than Your Art, I discussed the comparison between what I wanted to get from university and what they were delivering, and how someone who I'm going to refer to as bully number one helped me get access to a meeting where I could campaign for life drawing classes, which never came except for one, which was, well, just watch the last episode, it wasn't good. The episode before that, episode 3 of this podcast, called Stop Drawing and Film Your Food, that episode in the timeline would have happened after this story. So this was the kind of catalyst for my more negative thoughts and feelings towards the school itself, the people who were supposed to be tutors, and some of the students. This was the one big event that I can remember, even though there were signs before this happened. When this did occur, this story I'm going to discuss today, it was the beginning of the end. So, without further ado, this episode is called Bullying in Art School. Before I get started, I just want to say that someone did mention that I think I mentioned in the last episode that I had 3 points to raise, and then they said I didn't notice the 3 points. Because I have notes on a pad here, it's just I write down the title that I've thought of for the episode and 3 bullet points. So for My Art is More Important Than Your Art, bullet point number 1 was expectations versus reality. Number 2 was campaigning for life drawing classes. And number 3 was who wants what / why I didn't go. So that's the things which I use to structure the episode, more than saying here's the 3 points. And I've not even done that for this episode, because instead I have emails that are going to be the main discussion points for this topic. So in other episodes though, I will still refer to 3 bullet points, because I think that's quite a good structure for an episode that's about half an hour long. So yeah, that's just to clear up that. I'll also at some point do a episode responding to comments that I've had, because I've really enjoyed hearing feedback from people, and I'd like to expand on certain things which people said, because it's important that these issues get raised and discussed. I can imagine this topic today is going to be something which is not only pertinent for the art school I went to, but all art schools, if not all schools, if not all facets of society. Heard about it in politics and the fire service and police and families and all kinds of places. So this is just my story from art school, because that's something which for me was a recent big deal. I really invested in trying to be a better artist using university as a way to educate myself and grow my abilities, and instead this is what I faced. So I'm going to start off with the way I'm going to refer to people. There are certain tutors that I started to describe in some of the other episodes, some of the previous episodes, and in this episode I'm going to have some of them that I've got names written in front of me, but I'm going to show you the redacted versions, and the names that I'm going to refer to, they're going to be partly descriptive because that's just how is best for me to do it whilst protecting people's identity. So I'm going to use things like the dean, who was married to the head tutor of the art course, but I'm going to refer to her as the dean's wife because she wasn't really a tutor in the way that she behaved. Aside from the dean, I'm going to be talking about the associate dean, and then I'm going to have, as far as this faculty go, there is the dean's wife, the pretentious tutor, and the little wormy tutor. Those are the three people who are raised with regards to faculty in this episode. And then with the students, there is bully number 1, bully number 2, bully number 3, and my German friend. So that's who the players are. This is all going to be from my perspective, but because I'm showing you some evidence, this is something which I feel has some backing to it, even though I'm sure there are going to be other perspectives how to interpret some of the facts. The other thing that I'm going to do is that there is a kind of forum or a platform online on their websites on the university's website, where students can type in feedback or complaints, and it's called Tell and then the start of the name of the university. So I'm going to say it's called Tell Uni to try and protect the identity of the university. I wish I could, just fully say it was called this, it was at this place, and this were the, here's the people's names, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, there's one other person named in this, that's another friend of mine, and I will refer to that person as she, and I'm also going to refer to them as a studio friend. So I've got my German friend, my studio friend, bully number 1, bully number 2, and a bully number 3, the dean, the associate dean, the dean's wife, the pretentious tutor, and the wormy tutor. Okay, so forgive me, those are the people as far as how I'm going to refer to them. And now, here is a response from the associate dean after I posted a Tell Uni post complaining about what happened in the studio, and what the response is from the associate dean is what I'm going to read you. His first email to me. This is dated the 5th of October 2021. I started university in 2019. The bullying probably started at the end of 2019. In 2020 we were all locking down and working remotely over Teams, and at that point my German friend had already left and the announcement of her leaving had happened, and 2020, that year will have happened, and then 2021 starts, and I would have put in a complaint not long after that third year started. I know it seems late because it happened at the end of the first year, but I think sometimes events like this can stew in your mind and you're not sure how to respond, and you try to fix it at the time, and if at the time you can't make things right, then you try to ignore it if you can to an extent, and if that's not possible, then you put in a complaint. That's what happened. I say you, I mean that's what happened to me, so I assume that other people must process things in a similar way. So I put in this Tell Uni complaint. Sadly I don't have what I wrote, but it does get somewhat quoted in this response, and also I will reiterate certain facts in my email replying to this response from the Associate Dean. So here we are, 5th of October 2021. Hello Simon, I have been forwarded a copy of the Tell Uni post where you have expressed some concerns regarding the lecturing staff on your programme. The lecturing staff are the Dean's wife and the wormy tutor. The concerns that you have raised are very worrying, and I would like to meet with you via Teams to talk through these concerns. I'm available this afternoon at 3 p.m. and I will send you a meeting link request accordingly. Please respond to this email or accept the meeting request so that I know that you have received this message. Best wishes, Associate Dean. He's obviously put his name, not Associate Dean, but that's how I'm going to do it. I don't see that message. I've been going to workshops or classes or whatever we called them at the time, basically just gossip sessions and time wasting events that happened at uni. So I don't see that on the 5th of October. On the 6th of October I respond saying, thanks Associate Dean, sorry for the late reply. I'm not certain of the timeline, but I think it was possibly late November when... Oh my god. I'm going to have to not make sure I don't say this name. So I just started saying the name. I'll take that part out. I've got to be careful here. I'm not certain of the timeline, but I think it was possibly late November when the Dean's wife introduced bully number 2 to our, in closed brackets I put already overcrowded, close brackets, studio. I believe that the incidents of bullying, i.e. bully number 3, burning crude oil and dismissing my German friend's concerns, and bully number 1 playing loud music when on his stereo with bully number 2 leading up to my German friend asking them to turn it off and being told, shut up, you f***ing Nazi. Now I'm going to clarify the bully number 3 point there where I say that burning crude oil and dismissing my German friend's concerns, this was one of many things which bully number 3 has done, and one of the things was that she indeed did burn crude oil in a studio without ventilation, and when my German friend said to her, I'm not comfortable with this, I think this is a health issue, she dismissed her and told her it's not a problem, and my German friend said it will cause us to have breathing issues, and bully number 3 said to that, I have asthma and it's not bothering me, so no, it's fine. And just, overbearing, unpleasant behaviour and harmful as well, where they should have been reined in. I'll continue the email. On October 8th, we have our second year module launch on Teams from the Dean's wife, called, and then the name of it, whatever. It was just called something random. She wouldn't justify it afterwards. It's just no effort put into any of the modules. In this meeting, it is announced that my German friend has left. I have included a short video clip of this announcement. In it, you will see that as the Dean's wife is telling a half-truth about why my German friend has left, bully number 1 starts to laugh, and on hearing this, bully number 2 can be seen creeping into frame, ready to correct the record. He says, quote, that sounds like a nice way of saying that she didn't like sitting between me and bully number 1, end quote. Bully number 1, bully number 2 and the Dean's wife laugh. At the top right of the screen you can see my studio friend. It is worth mentioning that she suffers from ADHD and appears in the video to laugh as well. However, I know for a fact that she hadn't caught what had been said between the reason the Dean's wife gives and the joke bully number 2 makes. She said that she will be happy to help with this complaint, as she is one of the other students who has been affected by this type of behaviour. I personally don't trust the dean's wife, the pretentious tutor, or the wormy tutor after my experience of reporting an incident of 2 grown men bullying a kind and polite woman and seeing them do nothing about it. I'm going to pause here for a moment. That is the incident that we're discussing here. So that's not a separate incident, that's this where bully number 1 and bully number 2 have been harassing and mocking my German friend. Aside from saying, "Shut up, you f***ing Nazi," they also were heard using the German accent and mocking her by doing the kind of German frog march, is it called, or something like that, where you kick your legs up and Heiling Hitler and saying things like Schnell, Schnell around the studio in front of other students, these young women. And the "shut up you f***ing Nazi" comment was what was the incident which made my German friend leave the studio upset and go home. And when I heard about this, I confronted bully number 1, and he told me word for word what he'd said, and it was exactly that. And I said to him, just apologise to her and we'll fix this. It just takes building bridges. We can just work something out. Because I thought we'll just quickly act mature and say this all happened very fast. Let's pull back, apologise, start setting in place a compromise as far as the music, and then everyone will be happy and we can all work together. That was my first go-to solution. When that didn't happen, I went to the tutors, and I went to the dean's wife, and I went to the pretentious tutor, because they seemed to be the most influential out of all the tutors. The painting tutor, who I did like, who's not mentioned in this, he didn't get involved with the politics and the social aspect. He came in, he talked to us about what he was going to do. He was the only person who tried to teach us things, and he just didn't seem to get involved in stuff like that, whereas the dean's wife was really embroiled in all the nitty-gritty politics and social aspects and kind of palling up to the more nasty characters. So I thought this will interest her as far as she'll want to preserve the healthy part of the studio. And I told the pretentious tutor, because he seemed to be above her in the pecking order, even though I wasn't sure if he was or not. There was never a clear hierarchy. So I had a one-on-one chat with her and a one-on-one chat with him, the pretentious tutor with him. They both reassured me that they'll do something about it, they'll fix it, don't worry, leave it with them. And they did nothing. And then I met with them again when I heard that my German friend was thinking of leaving, and again they said, don't worry, leave it with us, we'll fix it. Well, don't worry, leave it with me, because it was both individually. I saw them, and they did nothing. So that's what I put in this email here. And I also mentioned it to the wormy tutor on a on a Teams call. And he said, let's just concentrate on the work. Let's not talk about things like this, because I was at a point where I just thought, I need someone to acknowledge this and help. And the dean's wife said she'd help and didn't. The pretentious tutor said he'd help and didn't. The wormy tutor was new, and I thought maybe he'll be interested in this, but I didn't realise that he was just friends with them. He was only a tutor there because he'd worked with the pretentious tutor before, and I think they're all just friends outside of uni, because it seems very nepotistic, the environment at this school. So he didn't want to know either. So that's why I said, personally, I don't trust the dean's wife, the pretentious tutor, or the wormy tutor after my experience of reporting an incident of 2 grown men bullying a kind and polite woman and seeing them do nothing about it. That's what that means. This episode might run a little bit long. I'm going to try to race through this if I can, so as not to waste your time. Bully number 1 and bully number 2 were the student reps for the 2nd year, and now they're student reps for the 3rd year. Quickly, let me just let you know, student reps are basically student representatives. They were the ones nominated in the class to be the go-to between the students and the faculty. So if we had any issues, we'd talk to the student reps. they'd relay that to the faculty in meetings and try to represent the studio, as kind of the voice of all the students. This again, it just didn't happen. It just wasn't the way it worked. In the first year it was bully number 1 and bully number 3. In the second year it was bully number 1, bully number 2, and then in the third year again bully number 1 and bully number 2. And the way they presented those options were that you had to challenge bully number 1 and bully number 2 in order to try and be a student rep, and I think that's why they ended up being the reps in the third year. I'm going to continue reading. They have both been given trust and responsibility from the people who were expected to be professional tutors, who we could share our processes and motivations when developing our work. That's quite a weird sentence, but I think I was trying to outline the fact that we were in a vulnerable position, trying to trust the faculty, and instead these bullies have been put in a position of power, really, and given responsibility they don't deserve. I'll continue reading. I have found this near impossible as a result my marks have decreased dramatically. I won't be the only one. Most of the studio is young women, and I don't expect them to stand up and voice a complaint like this. I personally have found this terrifying. It's not nice to say this person has done something wrong and I want something doing about it, but the students who I speak to in private say exactly that something should be done. Most people, and in brackets I put non-students, who I've spoken to about this have told me not to complain, just keep my head down and stay out of it. My German friend has been busy with starting her third year at another university, so I haven't contacted her for more information right now. I spoke to her last week and she said that she supported me going public with the complaint. Otherwise it will never change. I hope this helps. Thanks. I end up having a meeting with the associate dean and it doesn't go well because I am naming the dean's wife. That's a problem he doesn't like. I use her legal name instead of her faculty name, which, to explain that, let's say that her name was Abigail Shankly. Completely made up name. If anyone's called that, I apologise, I don't mean you. I'm just trying to make up a name. Let's say that that's her name. And instead she calls herself Abigail, I've got a toilet roll here, Abigail Rollo, let's say. Her legal name is Abigail Shankly, and her partner is called Alan Shankly, who's the dean. So Alan Shankly is the dean and Abigail Shankly is the head tutor of the arts course, just coincidentally. But Abigail Shankly decides to call herself Abigail Rollo in order to distance herself from the association and the nepotistic connection with the dean. That's my assumption anyway. So that was an issue with the the associate dean. He said, don't refer to the dean's wife as Shankly, refer to her as Rollo. Again, both made up names. As far as, I'm not saying their real names on this podcast. I noticed that, but at the time I just let it go because I thought of all the complaint that I'm going to raise, that's the least important thing. But I did try to make a case that is her legal name, and if you Google her, you won't find anything under the fake name that she's using for uni. You will find her under the legal name. But this is all things which didn't benefit my complaint, and I don't think he was going to take it seriously anyway. He was trying to squash it. He basically ended up saying to me that this wasn't my complaint. This was a complaint on behalf of my German friend, and he hasn't heard from her, so as far as he knows, I'm just making things up. And I could have misinterpreted everything in that video clip that I sent. Maybe it was a light-hearted joke saying, hey, that's a nice way of saying that she didn't want to sit between me and him, and it's just a joke. And I said it wasn't a joke. That was the truth. That was actually the case. She didn't want to sit between these two people. He said, well, I don't know that, do I? And I said, okay, tell you what I'll do. I'll go and speak to my German friend and see if she'll do anything to support my claim. And if not, then it's just my claim and I'm still going to want to make a complaint because me and other students have been affected by what's happened. And the fact that my German friend's left means that she's no longer in the studio, and people who witnessed the bullying incident or heard about it now realise that the bullies haven't had any sit down with the tutors about this. There's been no correction of their behaviour, and so that's set a tone of their presumed immunity from being held responsible for their actions. So that's what my concern was, is that it's, this is now their playground, which they can push people around, and it's not a nice thing to happen anyway. There's no justice or fairness in that, and the school kind of sold itself as inclusive and all this kind of stuff, which, whether they were or not doesn't really matter, but incidents of bullying should be taken seriously. Anyway, so he dismisses that. That was the 6th of October when I sent him a response. I can't remember when the meeting was that I had with him, but I had an email sent to me, sent to the Associate Dean, and sent to the Dean by my German friend on the 23rd of October 2021. And it was addressed to Faculty of Arts at the university. And it says, "Dear Associate Dean, RE as in regarding complaint made by Simon Renshaw to the Associate Dean. Firstly, I would like to confirm the accuracy of Simon's description of rudeness and taunting behaviour aimed at me by bully number 1. I did ask a tutor for help, suggesting mediation between bully number 1 and myself, but no action of this kind was taken. Another set of incidents led by the double act of bully number 1 and another mature student, which is bully number 2, involved loud obscenities passed between them in front of their teenage female classmates." This is again what really bugged me as well. "This kind of behaviour badly affected my ability to concentrate on work, both in college and also at home." By college she means university. "So, although I was still able to benefit and enjoy the printing and painting classes, the only long-term solution was to tactfully transfer to a more suitable college. I am now completing my 3rd year at said university." So like I said, she's using college and university interchangeably, but she left university, she went to a college. So she's left the school now. "If you require further details about these issues, I'm happy to help, but I do not wish to pursue any kind of formal complaint since it will prolong the distraction from my current college workload. Kind regards, my German friend." And that's fair. I don't think that she should have had to go through a formal complaint, because she's trying to now start in a new environment and develop her work to get good grades there. But this was met with silence. We had no response. She had no response. I had no response. So I went to make a complaint formally after that, because obviously it's not being taken seriously, and I couldn't just ignore what was happening, because, as I said, it was just wrong what had happened, which is basic and easy, but it's also it was a sign of bad things to come. So I thought this needs to keep going, and we need to do a formal complaint. So that's what I started to pursue. I've opened up the wrong thing here. Here we go. So I submitted a complaint to the university formally. Sadly, I don't have a date on this. I'll be able to get one at some point, but I had a message from the complaints department saying, "Dear Simon, I'm sorry that you have had to submit a complaint about your experience on the BA Fine Art programme. Your complaint will be reviewed for eligibility against the criteria outlined in the attached student complaints procedure. Once this is done, we will confirm the next steps. You have confirmed in the complaint form that you are acting as a spokesperson for the 3 other students named in the complaint This means that all correspondence will be with yourself, and you will be expected to disseminate this to the others. I would hope to be in touch with an update by the end of the week. Kind regards. And then the woman's name from the complaints department. The 3 other students were 3 people from the studio who decided to support the complaint. 2 young women and an older, mature student who was male. We banded together to make a complaint. The 2 young women weren't, and none of whom were my studio friend. My studio friend decided not to be part of the formal complaint because she wanted to try to not be put in an out group, which may sound bad but is actually quite wise, because that's what happened to us. We were put in an out group. I'll discuss that more, but this is the incident of bullying. Is that being said to my German friend, as she said, she outlined more taunting behaviour and the nasty, violent and sexual language they would use openly in front of the women as an intimidation tactic in the studio. At the time I was in and out of hospital because I had a cancer scare, I had a family member die, and I had a friend die as well around this time, so I was out of uni quite often, and I was relying on the student reps to keep me updated with what had been happening, but they wouldn't do that. There was really poor communication, so when I was in the studio I'd come in and say, what did I miss? They just said, oh, go on the uni website and have a look on there. I said, yeah, but you can tell me what happens, and they didn't tell me. And I went to a couple of them and they were useless. So it was again just a weird, unreliable relationship that was being built between the students and the student reps. It was just a title they had which gave them privileges that the rest of us didn't have. And then there was abuses they not performed, what would you say? They were the culprits of, which didn't have any ramifications. So that's why I'm making this series, is because of how bad things got. This is just one of the many stories that lead to the Dirty Corner. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.